now I wanted to post this up about the whole Bill Cosby thing. There's actually, and it's funny how he just won one case not too long ago, and now there's actually another article that some woman is trying to sue him, this time not criminal but a civil trial. She's saying that according to a lawsuit that the lady filed in 2014, Judy Huth, that's her name, she alleges that Bill actually assaulted her sexually at a Playboy mansion in 1975 when she was 16 years old. That's right. Playboy Mansion, 1975 when she was 16 years old. She also said that Bill Cosby gave her alcohol and took her to the mansion. Once there, he kissed on her mouth and forced her to perform sex acts on him. Oh gosh, these allegations are becoming ridiculous almost, I know a lot of women or people in general are just going on and like, oh, well, Bill Cosby this, Bill Cosby that. A lot of times, we keep forgetting about this whole Me Too movement, how much it's destroying so many men and how much it's destroying. Like, there's a possibility there could be truth in there. But the problem is that we have this assumption that any woman that just makes an alleged accusation, therefore she must be true, or it must be true. And that is the problem with the whole Me Too movement. Look at how much it's damaging Bill Cosby's career. They're calling him Bill Cosby now, all of a sudden. Personally, if a lot of times, most of us don't even go back and even look at the case. Mind you, those women that supposedly sued him long ago, that allegedly claimed that he sexually assaulted them, if you look at it, most of the time, the reason why Cosby won the first case is because his lawyers were able to find out most of them lied in their case. Most of them that alleged that Bill Cosby did it, they actually lied. There was no substantial evidence or physical evidence they were able to prove. Remember, this happened long ago. For instance, there was one case of one woman that stated that she met Cosby at a one of those Johnny shows, the one that used to be back in the days. She basically stated that she met him at the show. I keep forgetting his name. It's in my tongue right now, but I'll probably remember it. It turns out that, when they went back and looked at the record, they found out that the lady never even met Cosby at the year and the time that she said she met him. And then there was another case of some young woman that stated that she met Bill Cosby also at a Playboy Mansion. They ended up finding out, researchers found out that she was actually lying as well. She never met him as well. There was also another case where I think there's a model, supermodel. She made a guess and stated that Bill Cosby met her, and that he mind you, for years on end, she wrote a book. Janice Dickinson, yeah. She wrote a book about her sexual exploits and how much she was doing drugs in the 70s and stuff like that, or messing with so many men. This is before this whole Cosby thing even came out. I remember her book, and she was proudly talking about, how much she was a slut and a hoe and all this other stuff. In her book, mind you, right? And then all of a sudden, as soon as this issue happened, now all of a sudden and it became popular, all of a sudden now she's talking about, oh, well, yeah, Bill Cosby raped her, or at least didn't rape her, but he rather, sexually assaulted her. This is something that's wrong there, because all of a sudden she never made a mention of this in her book before this incident even became popular. But afterwards, all of a sudden it became popular, and all of a sudden she's talking about, oh yeah, he raped her and he forcibly touched her and all this other accusations and stuff. Mind you, most of it is baseless. Cosby, yes, in the early 70s and the 80s, especially in the 80s, he was a very powerful man as far as for NBC. Let's be honest, Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show carried NBC. CBS and other stations were far more popular back then than NBC. Because the Cosby Show and a lot of other shows came out and really carried it. But he wasn't as popular to a point that, he wasn't subject to scrutiny. But a lot of them made these accusations. He was popular, but he wasn't as popular as, these accusations that they keep making against him. As if, he was so popular and powerful that somehow, he was untouched. Cosby could have been touched as well. Had this happened supposedly in the 1980s or in the 70s or 80s, they could have went to the hospital. They could have filed a report. It would have been in the record, at least. Even if, let's say, supposedly like Cosby was so powerful and was in line with the government and other stuff, whatever, they could at least make that accusation still. There would have been a police report. Not a single police report has even found. Not a single, all those women, not even a single person went in there and actually went to the hospital to even get a DNA kit, something that they would check to make sure that something like that happened to her. None of them whatsoever. In fact, even the one that she stated that Cosby, was raping her. Mind you, she stated that, but then later on admitted that she went back to him. And it was found that he was helping her with career for a long time. So why is it now all of a sudden he dropped her after her career is like pretty much messy, and he didn't, I guess he cut her off. All of a sudden years later you want to be talking about he raped you. Who raped somebody, but then you're going to go back to the person? That makes absolutely no sense. Several times. None. But they keep talking about, Cosby did it. He was when he told Cosby. No. This Me Too movement basically completely makes no sense. It just becomes a he say, she say. We don't even look at evidence. Evidence is how the court works. Evidence is how the world works. We don't even look at the fact that even when they're doing the case, when Cosby was even placed in prison the second time, even though the second time there was some question about the jurors and the way it was done, they actually even gave him a chance to actually release him earlier than usual, the normal. They was like, okay, all he has to do, they couldn't release him early. All he has to do is plead that he did it guilty. He stated that no, he'd rather stay in prison than actually be released on a guilty charge for something he didn't do. If he was guilty, wouldn't he just say, okay, you know what, I did it, so he can just come out and be let go? No, of course not. Because he knows that he does not want that to stain in his record in front of God, stain in his record that he did something that he didn't do. At the end of the day, I can't say that he really, really, truly did it, but I can't say that he truly did not do it either. I'm just going based on evidence, and the evidence generally falls on basically on his part that none of them have any evidence whatsoever. None of those women have any physical evidence whatsoever. Kid, record, police report, nothing. And just he say, she say. If the world worked like he say, she say based on that fact, a lot of people will be, the prison system will be messed up. Everybody will be going to prison basically, because all somebody has to make an accusation. That's it. I remember her arguing with so many people on this case. They were talking about, what if that was your mom or your sister or your auntie, whatever, and I eloquently gave him the same answer, replied by, what if that was your nephew or your niece, what if that was your nephew, your uncle, your father, your grandfather or somebody? We keep forgetting that for every woman that's in your family, there are also men in your family as well too. Imagine if they were falsely accused of something that they didn't do. You're going to be like, whoa, wait a minute, they didn't do it. But why is it okay that when it comes to the men, but then when it comes to women, there's a whole different situation here. It's like we play sides here. If she makes an accusation, it's okay. She's right. But if there's an accusation against him, he makes the accusation, it's completely wrong. It makes absolutely no sense. We forget that, yes, men too do suffer discrimination as well too. If for some ways even a higher amount than women in some cases. You know what I mean? Not a single evidence. So now this woman is saying that this happened when she was 16. I'm surprised as how Playboy Mansion would actually even allow a 16-year-old into a mansion in the first place, unless she falsified, she had fake ID and was let in there. Even let's just say supposedly that she even faked her ID and she was let in there. Even then, why would she take alcohol from him first and foremost? Unless she knew that, wait a minute, he was a celebrity. One of those 16-year-olds that pretended to be 18 or whatever. Groupies that wanted to mess with somebody of high caliber. Either that helped their career, or they can say, hey, I used to mess with this person. Blah, blah, blah. But now, all of a sudden, at her old age, now she ought to be able to accuse him of something that he didn't do. Accuse him of saying that he did this to her in 1970-something. Like, seriously. And I know for a fact, his lawyers is going to grill this and completely, it's going to be overturned. This civil case is going to be thrown away easily because it makes absolutely no sense. You have no evidence, nothing whatsoever. You have to be able to prove that Playboy Mansion literally let you in there at that age, knowing that she was even 16. And even that, she has to be able to prove that he actually did that to her, which there's no physical evidence to even back it up. We don't have any timeline, and the Playboy Mansion tend to have records. They have records of visitors and people that visit there. Now, if they still have those evidence, they could still look back into it. And I'm sure it's going to back him up more than it's going to back her up. Things that happen in Playboy Mansion. So many people in Hollywood that went there and engaged in things of sexual nature. So many. But now all of a sudden, now they're going to just focus on this man at that old age and then say, oh, well, he did this to them, he did that to them. That's what I'm saying. This whole Me Too movement is ridiculous, whatsoever. Because, yes, there are women that have been raped. I feel for them. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there are men that are falsely accused for things that they didn't do either. And the problem is that when we just go based on he say, she say rather than the evidence, then we're going to start end up putting a lot of innocent people in prison for things that they didn't do. Like these men that have been accused and been in prison for 40 years or 20 years, and then later on they found out the evidence that, wow, the person was falsely accused. You can't give them back that life that they lost in prison. You can't. And we forget about that. So we need to stop this false accusation of Bill Cosby. Oh yeah, he did it. I don't care if it's 1,000 people that accuse him of something. If you don't have the physical evidence to back it up, then hey, you know what? You're innocent until proven guilty. That's the law in America. We can't just pick and choose when we want something to be guilty and when we want it to be, innocent. You know what I mean? We have to go based on the law. The law says you have to have evidence to be able to back it up. I don't care if 1 billion women come up and say that. If you don't have the physical evidence, then that's it. It is as is. But you can't go based on emotions. The law doesn't go based on emotions. Oh, well, I feel like he did it. You can feel like somebody's, did something that don't make it true. You know what I mean? Where's the evidence? Once we start going based on feeling, and if the courtroom went based on feeling, then we basically enter in a dangerous territory. And last but not least, I want to talk about basically the deposition. In fact, if anybody will read the deposition, he never even stated once in that early deposition that he even raped the woman. He stated that what happened was he gave them a drug, which was known at that time. It was like a pill or so. And that he gave it to them with their acknowledgement. And they acknowledged that he was giving to them, why he was giving to them. Because it was a party drug back then. They used that to be able to party. Just like today, you can go to Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood star celebrities, if you go to most of the parties, you find drugs, hardcore drugs that they use, they drink. And this is the 80s, party and rock and roll, sex, party and rock and roll era. So he wasn't the only celebrity that was doing this. So if he happens to give them drugs with them knowing what it was, and with their acknowledgement, that's pretty much what he stated in the deposition. He didn't state that he gave it to them without them knowing. That's something that's been falsified in the media a lot. People keep talking about what he gave it to them unknowing. No, he never mentioned that once in the deposition. Please go back and read that deposition. Because a lot of times we're falsely accusing people of something in the media. We're following something that's going on in the media, and that's not what's being stated in the media. So I urge you to go back and look in the media, and you'll find that is actually not what was stated in the deposition. Read it, use your head, and watch it yourself, and you'll notice that that's exactly not what was stated whatsoever. He stated that he never gave them drugs without their acknowledgement. So pretty much that's what I want my take on this. That we need to stop falsely accusing people because we don't like the person, or we just don't, we just feel like, oh well, the person is guilty. No, stop going based on your feeling. Go based on facts and evidence. That's what you should go based on. Don't go based on population. If 10 people come and say that, oh, X, Y, and Z punched them, don't go based on, well, but 10 people, therefore it must be true. Go based on where is the evidence. That should be how we should go by. Anyway, thank you so much. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tell me what you think. If you don't like it, if you don't agree, please let me know. Take care. Bye.